Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our latest episode of the Growth Playbook with myself, Kim Clark, and my dad, Alan Beaulieu. Today, we're going to be talking about leading indicators, but specifically, he's going to zero in on small business index score. And we're going to talk about what that's showing us that's happening out there in that sector of the economy. So I'm really excited to dive into the data with you today, Dad, and then zero in more so on the small business world.
Thank you, Kim. I am too, and you and I both know from years of being in the field that there are lead indicators for all kinds of things, and lead indicators often conflict. Uh, but I'm seeing overall that the lead indicators, the ones that are positive are not real positive. The ones that people say are good, maybe actually just flat, and there are actually some that are going down. So overall, if I were to take the world of leading indicators, I would give it a solid meh,
I like
which
it. That's our next meme.
that's right. Well, that's because they encompass, I mean, the ISM for PMI from the ISM for manufacturing is looking pretty good. It's above 50 and that sort of stuff. And for services, it's looking pretty good. But there's some really big businesses there, right? And a lot of what you and I deal with are not the really big businesses. A business at up to $200 million still can be considered a small business by a lot of metrics. So, I mean, it's just, we got to look at what's relevant to our marketplace. And that leads me to the quarterly small business index score, which is put out by MetLife and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the quote source, which is always nice. Um, and it's been lackluster. It's since 2022, it's gone up and down, but mostly horizontal. Right now, it's on the way down again, but it's not at the lowest point in the last since 2022, but it is just kind of laying there at the moment going down. That's the general mental picture. But what does it mean? I'm going to read to you what it actually means. The researchers surveyed the small business owners, and 53% of them said inflation was their top challenge, up from 45% in the last 3 months of 2025. So that relates to last week. It's an action word to repeat ourselves. The things you talked about, they are concerned. We weren't making up that concern. They are concerned about this, and it must be done. Only 37% said they expect to make new investments in the year ahead, down from 44% in Q4. 37% making new investments. I think that's wrong. They should be looking to where should I make those new investments? And again, that's where you come in with your helping companies with as a CRO. As we got to be doing things, gang. We got to get this boat going in the right direction. Let's all row instead of just putting the oars in the boat and going, let's hope for the best. I don't know of any business that shouldn't be thinking about it, needing to make an investment, whether that's an investment in advertising, marketing, a piece of equipment, new signage, whatever. You know those things better than I do, but you should always be looking into making an investment in your company. And I just want to ask them to please stop that. Believe in your business, believe in your future, and if you're out of cash, take out a loan, I suppose, or get a partner, or stop doing something and save some cash. But this that 37% just struck me as wow. And 28% of small business owners say the U.S. economy is in good health. Just 28% say the U.S. economy is in good health, which is contrary to what most news sources quote somebody as saying. That's the best ever. They think 28% is in good health. That's a mental drag.
Hmm.
That allows people to be, well, yeah, I guess it kind of gives them permission or maybe leads to them being Eeyore. Well, wasn't much of a company anyway. You get the
Oh. And they need Tiggers in their lives.
that's yeah, exactly. So all right, so the investment thing, yeah, you can cheer them on and show them, and you personally can help them with that. But how do we help them to see that feeling that the economy is not in good health is hurting them? I mean, how would you, as that CRO, get them to sit up, buckle up, let's go?
What comes to mind, the picture that you're painting is kind of they're treading water. And they're treading water because it's turbulent around them and they don't know which way their land is. And what you're asking is how to get them to get up and start swimming with intention in a particular direction, knowing that that's going to get them to their goals.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
I like
and
it.
Perfect. Okay. So with that mindset, there's a couple of steps in mind. I mean, why did they start the business in the first place? What are their ownership goals? I mean, it fundamentally should be, every decision should be rooted in those ownership goals. And as you know, I've been preaching a lot lately on the ownership goals being aligned with time, cash, and wealth. And so what are their goals in those three channels? And then based on that, now that's your land. And then from there, you need to go through each of the facets of the business. So you have like your financial section of the business, the production operation side of the business, and the sales marketing side of the business. And you need to understand what good looks like in each of those sections of the business and then assess yourself against that newfound picture. So here I am treading water. I've set my goal. So I set where my landmass is. I don't know which way I need to go, north, west, east, south, to get to said goal. So I'm going to assess the choppy waters around me to say, okay, this is what a good smooth ocean would look like, and assessing myself where, and then where is your biggest weak link at that point in time, because that's going to start giving you some of that compass, some of that direction. If my biggest, like if I out of 100, I scored a 12 in my operations, that's my COO channel, versus in my sales and marketing channel, I scored a 65, and in my finance side, I scored a 72. I know, okay, here's my compass. I start to dial in. I need to start looking at my operations and making it align to what good looks like. And so it doesn't have to be this, I'm going to tread water, I don't know where to go. There is a very systematic way that you can handle the complexity of everything that's going on and ignore the headlines and everything, the hyperbole that's giving you an emotional drag, and look at the data and look at the facts and assessment of the business.
I love
That
that.
would be my speech if I were to get on the
I,
phone with somebody.
no, I really do love that. I think in my more simplistic way, and this is probably educationally as much as, when and where and how I got my education. Um, I would look at that leader or CEO and go, "What are you afraid of?
Mm,
It doesn't look good out there. So what are you afraid of?" And you did it statistically. I just came at it from emotionally
mm.
because I think if you can help with the emotional part too, you can get them going into the statistical direction.
So, how did the economist on this call become more emotionally focused on helping out? And the non-economist is like, look at the facts.
I,
I've come so far.
maybe it's because I'm retired now. I have the luxury of, hey,
Oh.
wait, I am human. So it's
Oh, I
all
love
good.
it.
But really, people do get afraid, so we have
Hmm.
to help them face their fears, and sometimes they don't know. And if I can just end with your thought about the operations, and this is also an emotional aspect. Sometimes they can overlook that because, you know, the CEO and I have been together for so long,
Mm.
and there's a real hesitancy to go to that COO and go, you got to up your game, buddy, because we got a real issues going on here. Because we've been buddies for so long, we play golf, and that's an emotional issue as well that has to be overcome. Do you want the two of you just to talk about how great things were, or do you want to make things great?
Do you want to run the business?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. I've heard that from people, and it's like I understand it, but this is the economist, the hard fact guy again. Sometimes somebody grows out of a job, starts to drown and doesn't know it. Sometimes people just need to be replaced and it hurts, but if the other 50 people working for you are worth it, that's what you got to do. Or if your wealth, your cash, and your goals are your goal, then you got to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And even I mean, there are resources. You can seek outside help in those certain, if there are like personal ties, or maybe you don't know what good looks like, or you don't know how to assess the business. I mean, that's why Independence by Design's operating system exists in the first place, is to work step by step with the owner to go through this and show this is what good looks like in the three channels. Here's an assessment. Do an assessment on your CFO, your COO, your CRO, whatever, your VP of sales, whatever. It doesn't have to be those titles. It's just the people that are responsible for the revenue, the person responsible for operations, the person responsible for the financial statements. Here's an assessment. How did they grade? And then here's an assessment on the functions itself. How is the function of those three sections? And so that way the business owner can very clearly see and go back to said people that oversee the function or the person themselves and their skill, their lack of skills, if that was identified on the assessments, and say, here's how we graded, and here's a roadmap on how to fix it.
Yep.
So it doesn't have to be personal, if you are close friends. It can be very systematic.
You're absolutely right. But you and I have both seen people who still wouldn't do that because they wouldn't want to talk to their friend, colleague, or whatever that way. So they just ignore the problem for way too long, and they blame other people, and so that mindset of leadership and CEO has to be present for what you're doing, saying to work, or else you just,
An ostrich.
yeah, that's really good idea. Choking on a tennis ball, you got no hope.
Yeah. So get your head out of the sand.
Spit out the tennis ball, let's go to work.
Because inflation is an action word.
That's right. Yeah, and this was a confidence index. I'm going to end with have some confidence in yourself.
Mm.
Let's get it going. You know, stop talking to people at the Elks Club, or I don't mean to put down Elks, you know what I mean? Stop talking to people about how bad things are. Just look in the mirror and decide you're going to make things great. Let's go.
I like it. And I'll end with what are your goals? Set your goals, time, cash, wealth. You're a business owner. You started a business for a reason, and look at things systematically and reach your goals.
Absolutely. All right. Hopefully we helped.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'll be sure to put any links in the comment sections and such to help out with any attachments or assessments that we have handy. So that way, if you related to this in any way, maybe those tools will help you get started. So thanks for bringing this up for this episode, Dad, and see you next week.
You bet. Take care.
Bye.